Hey guys, it's Mario from WATL, and today we're going to be checking out one of the legendary throwers of WATL, David Cycon. For those who don't know David, you might actually recognize him from TV. David's made the most appearances on ESPN in Waddle history. He's appeared in every single major event with the exception of one. Starting things off with David, we're going to start off with his stance. David has actually tried everything, and he's tried different stances. He's tried, the side-by-side stance that Ryan Smith does, and he actually sticks with what's comfortable for him. David does his staggered stance where his right foot is forward, left foot is back. He keeps his center of mass in between both of his front foot and his back foot. He then shifts his momentum forward. So his weight is actually going forward, and there is a bit of that kind of movement motion. That is what David finds the most comfortable, and that's how he sets up all of his throws. What he's currently working on is making sure that his muscle memory is always on lock so his elbow doesn't shift. He mentioned that he has a bit of a movement with his elbow and he's trying to hone it in so the muscle memory is constantly always locked, so he's perfectly throwing it straight. When David holds his axe, he actually uses this part of the knuckle for the bullseye. That area in between, that little space, he lines it up with the bullseye, and that is his muscle memory point where he always wants to consistently release. When David is going for the kill shot, he actually uses the bottom part of the knuckle as his reference point when he's aiming. He actually does not like to land flat, and for those who like to land flat, it's important because you get that all-important coverage when the axe lands on the board. David actually likes to over-rotate a bit so he never ever has to worry about a drop. He throws a Super Scout, and currently he's getting about 4 to 5 handles being brought forward to him. He's trying to look for that perfect handle that fits the axe head well and throws well. He did mention that the best axe he has thrown and the one that he actually prefers is Mike Kump's Plum. And so that's his kind of go-to axe right now, and he's looking to kind of just find that perfect handle. David is one of the most calm throwers. He practices actually a lot of meditation. He does a lot of mental exercises in order to be able to kind of calm himself down in high pressure situations.
If you want to know how I stay calm.
David doesn't overthink his throwing. What he simply does is when he's at the line, he checks for everything. His feet, his positioning, his axe, and making sure that he's got his grip properly. He's doing a mental checklist of things of what he needs to do in order to set up for that throw. What David and his friends do in tournaments is when they start getting very stressed or where they're starting to get nerves or a bit of pressure, they actually like to joke around. And joking around, smiling, forcing a smile, getting kind of that looseness behavior allows them to actually focus a bit better and allows them to actually throw better. They actually use, joy, laughter, happiness as a way of kind of calming down their nerves. David brought up something interesting. One of the things he does not do is he doesn't fight nerves. Dave actually embraces it. He finds that it actually helps him throw better. And he actually said one of his most nervous moments ever was actually at the A bracket finals against Pops. And he said he could physically see his hand move side to side on TV before he actually threw his axe. That's how nerves were actually getting to him, but he was able to control it. One of the most heartbreaking things I've heard in most recent memory is actually my conversation with David yesterday. I didn't really think about what he had gone through in the 2018 World Championships. David was actually up by 6, and he did not need to go for a kill shot. He was just too deep into the game, and in going up for that kill shot, he actually missed, and his opponent ended up winning the World Championship, which was Benjamin Edgington. The reason I'm telling you this is David turned that negative into something positive. Now, what happened next? He won the Canadian Open, and then he appeared in practically every single ESPN event. Talk about going from one massive, loss, and nothing could possibly be worse than that kind of a loss, to turning that around to then winning the Canadian Open and then appearing in all these other ESPN events, including winning the most recent duels championship that we had in Atlanta for the US Open. What David realized at the end of it was axe throwing is a fun activity. He's there to have fun and to enjoy himself. And no matter what happens in the arena, outside of the arena, he's still the same person. He's still optimizing his life for happiness. He still wants to just be the person that he is. So, when something like that happened to him and he realized that, this isn't gonna change who I am, my happiness or my friendships or the friends that I have, he realizes that he's got nothing to worry about. And he goes in there and he enjoys himself. And that level of enjoyment and really just having fun and focusing on that and turning that kind of what happened to be a negative energy into something positive is, I think, probably one of the most admirable things I think I've seen in an axe thrower. Now, what surprised me about David is I started asking him about practice. What was surprising was the fact that he actually didn't practice often. So what he did is he threw twice a week. He'll throw on a Monday and a Wednesday, but he would actually leave Tuesdays for practice. So technically speaking, when it came to practice, he was doing it 1 time a week during his peak. Right now, what he does before a major tournament is he'll practice 2 to 3 times a week, but he doesn't go in there for extended period of time. And David brought up a really, really great point.
That was a great point, yeah.
David talked about not practicing for hours on end because that isn't a true state of how things will be at a tournament. You're not going to be able to be there practicing for an hour or 2 hours before your match. What he actually likes to do is he likes to switch disciplines. So he'll actually do 5 throws as a practice match. He won't do the full 10, and then he'll switch over to big axe, and then he'll switch back to hatchet. And that's how David practices. So he likes to alternate things. He likes to make sure that that muscle memory is there, but it's not this kind of constant practice of I need 2 hours in order to be perfect, in order for this tournament, in order for me to be ready. He brought up an interesting point because I asked him, you know, when you and Vin won the US Open, 4 duels, how often do you guys practice? How do you practice? And he said they didn't. And he's like, their practice was the few throws that you have before a match. And he said the thing with duels is, you know, when you partner up with any sort of kind of top thrower, you don't need that many throws. All you have to do is really just nail down your timing, which should only take 4 to 5 throws. He said too many people are focused on getting 6-6. And if we both get 12s on every single throw, that means I did something wrong. David is actually aiming for a 5. What they're doing strategically is one person's going for the 6, David's going for the 5. And so consistently they want to get an 11. If they get a 12, great, but that means David missed. In the alpha bracket, when David and Vin were going against Mark Marisol and Gary Dater, he mentioned that in the final match, their opponents unfortunately had a drop. What happened is they ended up hitting axes and it blocked off. And that's exactly what David was talking about, what he likes to try to avoid. The final thing that I asked David was, what are some general tips that you want to leave axe throwers with? Tip number 1 was go to tournaments or go to a local league and ask your top thrower in that league or top throwers in the tournament for tips. You learn so much more from these highly skilled throwers that's how the community develops. He loves helping people, he loves giving them tips, and then he loves also then seeing them at the next tournament and saying and hearing from them that, hey, my average went up by 10 points. And this is the thing that's great about the community. And David attributes it to the fact that it was born in Canada, and Canada is such a friendly culture. And he said, I don't know if the axe throwing culture would be the same if it started in the US. The other point that David brought up was actually very interesting and very true. Axe throwing fundamentally is a sport where you're playing against yourself. Your goal and your aim of having, aiming only for 6s and the bullseyes is independent of what this other thrower, your competitor, is doing. But you have to start looking at axe throwing similar to golf.
Well, why do they even have one if you're not supposed to hit it there?
Because it's fun! We're having fun!
David gave a great example. And the example that he gave was at the most recent US Open when Mike Philibom went against Ryan Smith. Ryan Smith was down by 1 point. So early in the match, what he did is he went up for the kill shot and he was up by 1. But that did not affect Mike Philibom's strategy. It did not affect his throwing. Mike Philibom kept throwing the 6s, and in his final throws, he then went up for kill shot, and he ended up with a perfect score of 64. You're still aiming for the 6s every single time, regardless of what that other throws. So just remember, stay focused on your own throws and keep in mind of what's in front of you. Thank you so much everyone for tuning in. If you have any questions, post them below. And we're going to be doing a lot more of these videos, and we're going to be interviewing some of the top throwers globally so we can help you, the community, improve your throw and your game. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a great day.